doing extremely well this Friday night. It's Friday night. It is nearly 10:15 on a Friday night, and I am a little bit early, as promised as well. So I hope we're all doing extremely well. Yo, Sky and Scott are in the house as always, guys. Thank you for the support. You guys are legends of the channel. Our first thing to say is always this: get into this community. This is the best community on this platform without a doubt. Please be respectful. Be respectful to our community. Be respectful to me. Be respectful to yourselves, and I think that's really key as well. Is just to be respectful to yourself. And second of all, otherwise the ban hammer does come out, and we will ban you. We don't mind banter. This afternoon show was really good actually, because we had a lot of different fans on, and yeah, we don't mind the banter. Second thing of always, look, if you want a place, we're all one, guys. Exactly. Look, also as well, look, I really do read out the chat. So I'm not a dictator of the chat. So if you've got something to say it. As long as it's not rude, we really don't mind at all, really. And I will read out your chats. I really will. So get in there. So if you think you can make a comment and we don't pick up on it, we really do. So look, let's get into all that stuff. So this afternoon's show was really good. Look, we spoke about Arsenal, and we can go back over the Arsenal game as well. You know, that's absolutely fine with me. But tonight is your show. It's a different kind of show. It's an evening show. I tend to get led by you guys on this evening show, and we sort of go through stuff. So there are two. Well, there's one main thing. Neil says hi, everybody. Riz says, when do you think we will hear more on the stadium investment? Look, let's delve into that first. You know, look, as we spoke about yesterday night, I think it was, or whenever it was, that this stadium build needs to happen soon. So Ryan says, I'm looking forward to weather getting better. Can stop taking my brolly to the game. Fix the standards, says Ryan. And look, Ryan, I think that goes perfectly into what I'm going to say next, or what I wanted to start off with, and what Riz says as well, is United are facing oblivion. Whether we like it or not, United are facing something that was said that was going to happen. I do think the protests will have any effect. So I will come on to all that as well. The protest can. I mean, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to do. I'm going to cover the protests. I'm going to do a couple of bits and pieces. So I'm going to go up there. I'll do a show from there as well. I'm also probably will film some stuff as well. So look, the protests will do something, but it has to be numbers. You know, one of the things I don't understand is why the protests are not happening, or why they didn't happen before the City game. The problem for me, Riz, is that why do a protest on the transfer window day, or just after the transfer window? You should do it the most impactful. I think the most impactful thing would have been to do it for the derby. I get why they haven't, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. To say, look, you know, why don't fans, why don't the away fans boycott the games? Look, I get that opinion. I respect that opinion. But what we've got to understand, I think, as a fan base is, look, whether there are 10,000 people who go to games, right? Whether there are 60,000 people at home, right? I get it. You know, I think it's easy. I think it's easy for us and for me to sit here and say the fans shouldn't go to games. This fan base, what I love about the fan base is, look, even though they're putting money into the Glazers' pocket, I get that, but that's not the reason why fans go to games. You know, look, the reason why fans go to games. Are you going to buy new players? Nope. The reason why the away fans go away and the home fans do is not because of the Glazers. It's because they love this club. No, it is because they love the club. They support what this club is. You know, the Glazers at some point will be gone. These players will be gone. But it's more about following the team. So look, you know, I would 100% agree with it. Where I think it would be better served, as we've already said, there is timing. I think timing of it is crucial. It's easy for me to sit here and say I don't understand why they didn't do it whilst the transfer window's open, and why they wouldn't do it before the derby. I think that would be impactful. However, I think it's a numbers game. You can get any game called off, because you can get any game called off by sheer numbers, right? If you had, I mean, I'd hate to guess, but if you had, say, 200,000 people outside of the ground, or whatever the maximum could be outside of the ground, you can get the game called off on the basis that it is unsafe. It is a numbers game. If you get so many numbers standing outside of that ground and marching, and as soon as the police get involved and they've got to close off roads and they've got to have a police presence there because the protest is so big. This is why when you go to London, right, and they protest, you know they do all sorts of protests, right? Because the police get involved, just from a safety perspective, they've got to close the roads. And I think if we were a bit smarter, and if the appetite was there, if you get the numbers, if you get the sheer numbers there, then they will have to call off. So, you know, we don't need violence. We don't need anything like that. You can get games closed by just simply putting people there. So, look, I don't blame fans for going to the games, and I think, as Liam has said, that Liam is in the house. Respect to Liam, as you said there, because away fans can get ticket on third-party sites. So, you know, the one of the things to realise, and this is where the Glazers win, is because this fan base is so huge. The demand for tickets is so high that people, look, there are some people out there. There is a huge majority of people, and correctly so, they don't understand, or they don't care about the mechanics behind the scenes. They may understand, but they don't care. All they see is they want to see their heroes. You know, all they want to do is they want to see United play. You know, they don't necessarily understand the impact. They know that on the pitch we're not great, but some people don't care enough. Like some people don't care enough. And when I say that, I don't mean they don't care about the club. Some people just don't care about that aspect. All they want to do is they want to go and watch their team play. And it's up to people like us. And I'm not just saying that it's up to me because I'm so great. I think it's up to a big section of fans to take responsibility to educate and to try to move these people out of the club. And sometimes the few can impact the many. I want to say, you know, a few. All it's going to take is a couple of thousand people. And as soon as you do that all of the time, you know, we need eyes. We need eyes on the Glazers, eyes on the problem. And I think that is where we need to focus. Let's have a look. Let's go back through the chats. Don't worry. I am going to go through all of the chats. So, Rick says, when do you think we'll hear more of the stadium investment? Well, look, we need to hear about the stadium investment sharpish. We need to hear about it at least by the end of the year, because if they're looking to build this thing in 2030, we're going to need to know. It's going to take 4 to 5 years to build this thing. The moment that you hear the Glazers and Sir Jim are going to move forward with the build, you know they've got their investment. You know again that we failed, and they're not going to be here for a long time. Look, this club is up for sale, and unless the buyer comes in to buy this club, somebody is going to invest. It's too much of a money spinner for people not to invest. So I think we're going to hear about it relatively soon. It could be, if I was to hazard a guess, I'd probably towards the new financial year. I think we are going to need to hear it. I do think that there is Saudi interest. Jazim, I believe, is on the peripheral as well. If the Saudi consortium make a play and make a bid, Jazim will make a play as well. So I'll go through this. I'm looking. Yeah, I've done that. Serious fan says that, I've had Rice join United. Do you think he wouldn't have become the player he currently is? United have a penchant for dragging players to their level, and that's a valid point. It's a valid point. Do I think Rice would become the player that he is? I think Declan Rice is one of those players that whoever he plays for, I think he would maintain his standards. Quite possibly we would have dragged him down, but then at the same time, would he have lifted up the team? I don't know. I would probably go with a region of somewhere that we would probably bring him down. You've got to go with what you've seen, but there is a part of me where I do think that Declan Rice would have probably brought some standards. I think he's that sort of player, but who knows? Ryan says, didn't Ollie want Haaland, Bellingham, and Rice all gettable points? Haaland, we had many chances to get Haaland. We didn't bite. Bellingham wasn't Ollie's fault. Bellingham came in. Ferguson was there. I believe Cantona was there. I believe Robson was there. Bellingham just decided that he wasn't an idiot. Bellingham decided that he wasn't a fool, and that we basically weren't the best place. So I don't blame Ollie for any of those players at all. The club failed on Haaland 3 times. Bellingham wasn't stupid. Sally says, I agree, to have the maximum impact is always key. Are United going to buy players? I don't think they are. Steve says, legend, good luck for United, Sky Blue Army. I don't know who Coventry have got, buddy, but good luck to you as well, my friend. Hallie says, which team do you support? I think that's been answered. Would you say trash the stadium, but is it knackered anyway? Look, Ryan, one of the most devastating things to me, Ryan, is that we're going to have to knock down the stadium, I think, right? I don't know how. Look, my preference, Ryan, would be that we regenerate the stadium, but and this for me is the thing that will be synonymous for me with the Glazers, is not just so much the debt, is not the dividend payments that they've taken, not the amount of money that they use to service the debt, is the fact that they came into our club, that came into our home, and they've never invested a penny of their own cash into this club, to the point where they've let this our home, our physical home, go to ruin, and so much so, Ryan, that they're gonna have to, I think. Well, they don't have to, but they're going to knock it down. It is despicable. It is disgusting. I can never be that alone, for me, is the reason why, even if the Glazers decided to become good people, even if Sir Jim decides to spend money in this window, this is what I mean by spin. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody is talking about these fucking parasites come into our club and basically destroyed our home. It is leaking. It is absolutely horrific. And then people talk about Sir Jim, INEOS are not that bad, right? They have facilitated this. They have allowed the Glazers to stay, knowing what they've done to the club. Sir Jim is a lifelong fan. How can you be a lifelong fan of this club and support people who have destroyed our home? Now, and this is why you know that Sir Jim is in this for the money, because our home, and this is what I will never forgive the Premier League for this. How can you take an institution, a building that should have been protected, our ground, even if we decided to move, our ground should be protected. It is a heritage site, in my opinion, and it should be protected. But the government, the Premier League, the Glazers, Sir Jim now as well, have all been complicit in allowing this to happen. So if Old Trafford does get destroyed, it will be, I will never forgive anybody that's been part of that. I don't want a new stadium. I don't want a state-of-the-art stadium in the context that it's happened. If, for example, the Glazers had looked after the stadium, and I've said this many, many times, if the Glazers had come into this club, looked after the stadium, made sure that the stadium was fixed, was right, was okay, and then they said, as a thank you to the fans, we need to, if we want to get to the next level and we want to be the best, most advanced club, forward-thinking club, we're going to build a brand new stadium as a thank you, right? As a thank you for taking £800 million repayments out the club, as a thank you for £1 billion taken out of the club. As a thank you, they're going to rebuild the state. They're going to build a stadium. Old Trafford could then be used as a museum, as a place for fans to go and visit, but you keep the stadium in place. That is not the case. They've let this ground, our home, ruin to the point where they're going to need to knock it down. And modern day fans, young fans, all they're going to see is they're going to see this shiny new stadium. It's going to be like a theme park, and it's going to look great, and the Glazers are going to make so much money. And yet the site where our home was, that history over 100 years, where Best played, Charlton played, Law played, you've got all these players from eras where Hughes played, Cantona, Schmeichel, Rooney, Cristiano. And why those players are not getting involved to save our home as well is beyond me. Now, and this is why I do not support our home, our stadium being destroyed by these capitalist fucking vultures. I know that's a long answer. Season ticket sales need to drop. All eyes on INEOS. Forced midfield rebuild has to be right now or never. Neil says, if stop going to game, someone else will go instead. INEOS are useless. Chocolate Fire God comes to mind. And he says, what do you think about yesterday's match between Aston Villa and Fenerbahce. Did Fenerbahce win? I can't remember. I think Fenerbahce won, didn't they? I mean, look, Fenerbahce won. I mean, I don't really know what you want me to say in it, really. Fenerbahce won a game. You know, look, it's, you know, I know Turkish people and Turkish fans are very passionate about their clubs. Look, it's just I just think it's a good win. I don't know in the context of what it means. Are Fenerbahce going to win the Europa Cup? Is it the Europa League? I don't know. But look, a win is a win, and Fenerbahce did well. Sergio meant to be a lifelong fan, exactly. We're beating Arsenal. Says corrupt. Look, I really hope that we do. JB, you're my hero. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, my friend. I stopped going to games a long time ago and buy the merchandise and watching MTV. So my bit is done. Look, I get these tops and kits. I will not get anything from the club. I don't buy anything from the club. Look. Says, JB, we tried it in 05 with FC United. The Glazers don't care as long as they make money. And Liam, you're right. You are right. The Glazers don't care. The Glazers would, if you had, let's just imagine you had a small child, about 5 or 6, and they were crying. They were sat there crying, saying, Malcolm, not Malcolm, because he's gone. Avram, please, I'm 6 years old. Can you please spend some money? Could you please, treat the club right, Mr. Glazer? Could you please? And they'd be bawling and crying, and he'd probably just step on him, walk away, because they don't care. And Liam is right, but it doesn't mean, Liam, in my view, that we stop. It doesn't mean that I think we stop. I think it means that we just have to keep going, because if we don't, the Glazers win. Whether it is fruitless or not, and Liam, you're right, my friend. I think we still have to. I think we still have to do it. I think one is not going to be enough. I think we need to disrupt games by numbers, but how many people are prepared to commit to that? I can commit to a couple of times a year, but I can't protest every single week, because I don't live there. I've got children. I am gonna go to the February one that is booked in, and I am gonna go. But it's such a difficult thing to ask, that I think if we have one big timed one with a couple of 100,000 people there, who knows? Gherkin says it's not money spent. It used to be. Isn't it United we stand? Too many of us lack the required passion, or maybe right passion is the better word. I think it's difficult, Ryan. I know exactly what you're trying to say, right? I know exactly. I think fans are passionate about the club. I just think that the Glazers make it so. They've spun this fan base around so much that people believe that they can't get rid of the Glazers. And I think Liam is sort of right on that, but there are ways to get rid of everybody, right? I just think that it's like this, right? It's called Stockholm syndrome, right? Where basically, if you get captured by a person, they treat you badly, they lock you up, and then you almost fall in love with the people that have kidnapped you. You fall in love with those people, or you respect those people that were mean to you, because it just becomes the norm. What this fan base has done, and through no fault of a lot of fans, is we've become so accustomed to being treated, the club being treated so poorly, that we just accept it. I'll give you an example. Whether this is realistic or not, United are supposedly, or we were, one of the richest clubs in the world, one of the biggest clubs. We're told this window, we're now being spun around about, oh, we're going to do things in the summer. It is pissing me off. It is annoying the piss out of me that everybody from Indicator to whoever else is now starting to reporting on the summer. We're going to get Baleba in the summer, Anderson in the summer. I think a lot of these people are now being paid to spin this crap, right? I don't give a fuck about the summer. Right here and now, I couldn't give a shit. This club should be going out now and getting some of the players that they need. Okay? In a hypothetical context, we should be going out. It doesn't matter. I don't care if these players or the clubs don't want to sell these players. I want the players that we can't have. It's not an arrogant thing. That is what big clubs should do. We can't do it because we don't have the money, and we will come on to the cash side as well. So look, financially, it can't be done, but contextually, it should be done. But fans buy it. Fans buy this Glazer shit. Like again, this spin, this Casemiro, right? Casemiro. What? Why do people think this whole piano playing, sad piece that Casemiro is leaving the club? We had this whole rhetoric, this whole thing about Casemiro leaving, right? Because they put out a video so people would think, oh, Casemiro's leaving. Casemiro is not leaving until the summer. Why do this now? Why? Because they want a smoke screen. They are spinning every single thing in their arsenal that they can. Maguire, right? A question was answered in the presser today. I think Maguire's going to stay. If Casemiro is going to leave and they're playing a piano, Jadon Sancho is going to leave. Nobody's announced that. Malacia, who's back in the squad, is going to leave. He's not playing the piano. Nobody's, he's not saying, oh, thank you for the last 4 years. I've been injured. I've done fuck all. I was in the bomb squad, but thank you guys. Nobody's doing that because it doesn't serve a purpose. Casemiro has been used. This fan base has been used. Everything United do is a click-based thing. It is something to distract the fan base. They're now talking about transfers again. If you read any major outlet from Sky, Indicator, I think even Romano's doing it now. Ornstein is a mouthpiece of this club. They're all talking about the summer. I don't give a fuck about the summer. We need players now. I don't care. We need players now. But they won't do it because the money's there. But this fan base is prepared to buy into, well, the players aren't there. The players aren't there. They fucking are there. The players are there. Players don't suddenly disappear. If you went, I guarantee you, if you went to a Nottingham Forest now and says, here's 100 million for your player, Forest are not going to go, nah, they're going to take it. So ultimately, the reason why we're not getting a manager, because apparently the manager's not there until the summer, we need to wait. And now there's talk today of Carragher getting the job. So when we get to the summer, and we've been told at Tuchel we're going to get the job, and we've been told that we've got to wait. We've got to wait until the summer. Will people retrospectively look back and go, hang on a minute, Carragher's got the job, But back in Christmas time, you were saying that Carrick is going to get the is not going to get the job. Tuchel was going to get the job, but now you're saying that Carrick is going to get the job. And this is why that we fail. I don't blame the fan base, but the retrospective action doesn't happen, and people buy into this shit. So if we get to July and they give Carrick the job, it's a fucking lie. This fan base has been lied to again, because they had no intention, and they'll spin it. Oh, Carrick's done a fantastic job. Oh, he's done this amazing job. Look, if Carrick gets us into the Champions League, fine, and people are already talking after one game that Carrick, he's the man, So if we get to the summer, we'll be spun. If Carrick gets to the Champions League, we will be spun again to say the reason why Carrick has got the job is because he's got us into Champions League, because they've got no fucking appetite. It was all a lie. So if we get to the summer and Carrick is in charge, it's because they've got no plan. They've never had any intention of getting a manager, because they've lied. So look, there are things that are going to happen. Now, look, if you look back to the summer when it was shit, David Ornstein, the mouthpiece of this club, was talking about any targets, right? And go back and watch it. David Ornstein said in an interview that United have said whatever targets they don't get now, we're talking about the midfield, they will wait until the January window to do the business. Well, they have they even at the time I said that they will not do this because they never have. But people don't go back and look at what was said. Ornstein put it out there that the club said in this window, whatever they don't sign, they will go and sign a centre midfielder. It's all there. They haven't, because they fucking lied time after time. I guarantee you, the end of the window will be, we've not signed players because we're going to wait until the summer. It is fabrication, and this fan base falls for it every single time. Let's get through some of your chat. Billy Games says, hi JB. Greg said it's too expensive, buy a lower tier and build off that. United is rotten. Liam says we could protest every game, but until the Glazers don't make money, they live thousands of miles away and simply make no difference to them. And Liam, I think that's a good point. My hat, the dribble that come. Well, great. So embarrassing seeing online fans being so overconfident after one game. We're going to get so much banter if we lose. Exactly. Rob James says break the bank for Cole Palmer. We're not going to give you the jot. You can take Trent. I'd rather not have Trent, thanks. Casemiro to go, bring in Neves and Valverde, says Leo. Look, Casemiro is not going now, Leo. Casemiro is not going now. He's going in July. It doesn't, and Leo, look, this is why they've done what they've done, is because some people will think that Casemiro is going to go now. So, oh, fantastic. Casemiro out, Neves in. Casemiro is not going until the summer. So, Casemiro is not a player out. Casemiro is a smokescreen to basically divide and fool the fan base, because they know that they're not going to make signings. Neil says Casemiro contract runs out in the summer. Brody says hi. Verde is average. Glazers basically picked out the ones with the same mindset. Mike says, what effect do you think the protests will have on the Glazers? None. And look, unless this is a massive, unless there are massive amounts of people there, and by sheer numbers they get the game called off, then and only then will the Glazers act. Now, if you there were protests that got the Liverpool game cancelled, and in response to that, the Glazers bought a player. The only way in my view, that the protests have an impact is if they cause games to be cancelled. People don't need to look. Imagine this, right? Imagine this. If you get the Fulham game cancelled, that's going to have to be played, right? If you get the Fulham game cancelled by having sheer numbers, people don't even have to boycott the game, right? All it's going to take is for an amount of people to make it dangerous for people to go into the ground. People don't even have to block people. You don't even have to do anything at all. No physicality is needed. You don't need to be rude. You don't need to scream and shout. All you need are numbers. If you have numbers, the police will have no. They will basically have to cancel the game because it is a numbers game. So if you can have that and get a game cancelled, imagine this. As soon as protesters know the amount of people that it's going to take to close off a game, and also as well, those games like have to be played. If you cause a pile-up of fixtures, this game will have to react. If you get multiple games cancelled because there is a sheer amount of numbers there, the Glazers will take note. INEOS will have to take note because this club is all about how it looks, and the worse you can make this club look, the better. It says thoughts on Carrick. I'll name this account later. Thoughts on Carrick. I saw the presser today. I'll give you my quick opinion on the presser. Carrick speaks well, but Carrick is a company man. Now, Carrick today might as well have said, the sky is blue, water is wet, wood is brown, the trees are green. You know, it wasn't that I wasn't impressed, but I reckon that was written on an AI. I reckon they went to one of these AI to and basically put in there, can I have a speech? Can I have a beige, boring speech for a press conference today? Because Carrick might as well have just said, the grass is green, the sky's blue, water's wet, wood is brown. What did we learn? Carrick can talk well. Carrick is a confident guy. But after one game, look, mate, I'm not coming back at your comment. I'm not disrespecting your comment. I promise you. But this whole Carrick thing right now, Carrick is not best in class. As a coach, as a manager, as a coach, what has Carrick won? You can't take what a player did in his playing days and translate that into a manager. Some people can. Zidane has done it. Pep has done it. Alonso. But a lot of the best coaches haven't. And Alonso, look, Carrick, for me, it's still early days. It's still... I don't have an opinion on him. I don't. He goes into the presser well, but it was a generic presser today. He's going to say the lads are good, the lads need to prove himself. Amorim said that. He keeps saying that the lads need to be confident, the lads need to do X, Y, and Z. It was just a generic, uninspired presser. I don't blame Carrick for that, but I do agree that Carrick seems to have given this team a boost. But the reason why Carrick has given this team a boost is because he's their mate. Carrick is playing how these players want to play, and Carrick is their mate. Carrick is their friend. So these players are going to look. These players are playing simplistic counter-attack football. They're playing football that they can play and what they want to play. So Carragher's giving them a boost, but long term, if that is what you want and if one game of football against a City team who people can say whatever they like, a City team right now who are not good, and if that is people's standard, then that's fine. But we need to see where we are in May, June. I'll give you my opinion there. Sky says Carrick seems to have given the team a boost. I think it's good so far. Martin says some said to me that Ratcliffe was a person who you do not want near the club. Before he came in, he ruined the Qatar bid. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. The Glazers were going to sell. The Glazers had to sell or find an investor. Sir Jim came in with his fucking ego. The Glazers sold him the regeneration, and Sir Jim is here to make money. People will throw at you, and people will tell you that Sir Jim invested. I think he's invested £1.5 billion, right? Carrington, right? 50 million, right? Sir Jim is going to get tax breaks on that. Sir Jim, you are allowed to capitalise money you spend on an asset. He's going to capitalise that money. He can get that money back. You know, let me give you an example. If Carrington was worth, say, 100 million, he spent 50 on it, right? Carrington could now be worth 250 million, right? When United sell the club, he'll get that money back. It's no different to you buying your house. Let's just say if you buy a house for 200k, you spend 50 on it, and then because of what you've done to that, your house is then not worth 250. That's what you spent. It could be worth say it's worth then 400k, right? Because you spent 50 million on it. It's exactly the same thing. He's not given the money to the club for free. He's given it because he wants the asset to be worth as much as he possibly can. That 1.5 that he's invested, he's not given it to the club. He's bought his way into the club. He's not given it to the Glazers for free. He's taken shares. What do people think fucking shares are? Shares are an investment. He's invested £1.2 billion. He hasn't given the Glazers money to just give them cash and he gets nothing, you know, in return. It's not like when you go to a shop and you buy, I don't know, you go buy some shoes, right? You go and buy the shoes, that money is spent. That money is gone, right? Sir Jim hasn't given away the money. It's not a sunk cost. So when you spend money and you don't get that money back, it's not a sunk cost. It's an investment. So Sir Jim hasn't, out of the goodness of his heart, just given this club cash. He's invested in this club, and those shares that he bought are going to be worth money. So 100% he is destroying this club as well. You would want a 100k stadium. You would want a 100k stadium next to an 80k stadium. No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that what you would do? Is you so okay? So what you're saying is that you're happy to knock down an historical building, right? There are buildings in this country that are protected, right? What I'm saying to you is you keep Old Trafford not as a stadium. You could keep it as a heritage site. There were plenty of instances where buildings have been used, right? They've been kept and then somebody will basically build the same thing just over there because it is of significant historical worth. So you keep the stadium, but you don't use it as a stadium. You keep it as a piece of British history, and you turn it into something. You don't have to keep it as a stadium, but what you're saying is you basically just want to knock down our home that's been there for over 100 years, where our best players have played, and you're going to knock it down. Not for me. Not for me. Not for me. People are getting locked out. I did Fenerbahce lose. I have no idea. I have zero idea. Let's go through this. People seem to be. Fresh says made redundant and misses has left me all in the same day. Luke Shaw and Casemiro are world class, but life is. Fresh said made redundant and misses has left me all in the same day today. Luke Shaw and Casemiro are world class, but life is hard. I mean, Fresh, fucking hell, mate. Look, Fresh, and look, I'm not disrespecting people's opinions, mate, but look, Fresh, if that's true, buddy, I mean, that is fucking harsh. Look, just for today, Fresh, if it's true that you've been made redundant and your misses have left, and that's true, Luke Shaw and Casemiro today can be world class. Just for you, buddy, I will admit, just for today, as look, mate, if that's true, Fresh, I will admit today that Luke Shaw and Casemiro are world class, buddy, because that's harsh. Bodo Glimt is better than is a better team than Grimsby Town. United needs at least 2 signings if they want to secure a top half finish. PSI is a factor. No, it's not. No, it's not. PSR has gone. So I'll name this account later. No, it's not. PSR has gone. At the end of this season, the salary squad cap comes into the SSC. Sorry, the salary cap. The salary squad cap says either SSC or SCS. Not to be confused with the sofa company. No, it's not. The salary squad cap comes in at the end of this year. PSR doesn't apply at all. PSR has now gone. The positivity around Carrick will evaporate unless you add depth. Wait till they lose a couple. They'll be calling for his head banter fans. And look, Sean, mate, that could be, that could be a factor here. That could be a factor, buddy. People are, I get it. Fans are just clinging on to positivity. I get it. We've been starved all season, right, for positivity. Any positivity that we can get, we will be all over it. Right? I don't blame fans for it. But you're right, Sean. What happens if Carrick goes and loses the next 5 games? Are the same people going to be, maybe? And look, and that is people's right. People can change their opinion if they like. I've got no issue with that. But the problem is, it causes this never-ending cycle of mess. Casemiro's not been a flop at United. I think he has been disappointing for the price. I don't think Casemiro's been a flop. I wouldn't call him a flop. I wouldn't call him a flop. I would just say I'm probably with you. I think Casemiro has been, but has he though? Because we bought him at a price which was very, very high. Do I think Casemiro has been a flop? No. I think Casemiro has been exactly what he should be. I think we panic bought. And we bought badly. I think Casemiro has been what he should be. I don't think Casemiro should have been in the Premier League. I think Casemiro at that age should have gone to an Italian league. I don't think he's been a flop. I just think he's just been I just think he's just been what he should be. I think his price. The problem is his price tag. A lot like our players before. Now, Shesko, for example, people are disappointed in him because of the price tag. I'm not, because he's young. I think the problem with Casemiro is that tag. If we'd have bought him for 40 million, I think it would have been fine. Sean tweets is 120 million maximum. If you get hammered by Arsenal, will there be clamour for signings? I think it depends. I think, serious fan, if Arsenal tank us, I think the Glazers will look to spin it. I think the difference this year, more than any year, is we literally don't have the money. There is no money there. 150 in Banter's case, always pay over the odds. Liam says, Liam's doing that. You get some new shoes. Anderson will be more expensive after the World Cup. Go through these chats. Guys. If Carrick has a great one, should he not get the job? No. I am adamant on this. I want to look. This team is counter attack FC. No, I want a coach who's going to come in and not just play counter attack FC. I want to see an evolution of this counter attack. I want to see consistent winning football with different players. For me, I don't care if Carrick gets us to the Champions League. I want a world-class proven coach. City's new signings, Gray, he will instantaneously improve them. He's better than Heaven, Lucha, Deloitte, and Yoro. You guys are going through it. It will be very difficult to sign players in time for next season due to the World Cup and the uncertainty around the managerial style. I agree. Hunter says, everyone thinks we fell off rather than we were asleep. Against Arsenal, we will win and make a statement to the rest of the Prem. Look, Hunter, I admire Hunter. I admire that stance. My only, Hunter, and again, mate, I'm not calling your opinion out. My only comment on that would be: so, are you saying, Hunter, that we've been asleep all season? Are you saying that we've been asleep against Grimsby? Are you saying that we've been asleep against the Toffees? Have we been asleep against Spurs? Sleep against West Ham? We've been asleep since Burnley. We've been asleep at the Brighton game. No, Hunter, why have we suddenly woken up? And this is what. And Hunter, look, I'm not calling that opinion out. You're perfectly entitled to have that view, and I hope that we do win, and I hope we make a statement. But even if we win 2 games, why does that mean that we're awake? I don't understand it, Hunter. It sounds very, very Glazer, mate. I hate to say it. It sounds very, very Glazer, Hunter. I've heard this all before. We've heard this song before. We've heard this before. It is always, we've been asleep. You're saying that we've been asleep. It's always United are back. We've played 1 game. And look, even if we beat an Arsenal, what does that prove? It's 2 games. If we then go on to beat Fulham, if we go on to beat Spurs again, if we go on to beat West Ham again, if we go on a run of games, then maybe, Hunter, I will agree with you that something has awoken up. Agree with you. But I don't think the rest of the Prem are going to care. Even if we beat an Arsenal, I don't think it means anything, mate. And it's only going to mean something if we go to the next game and win. Fulham, if we go to beat them, if we go beat Spurs, those are where you make a statement, not against an Arsenal, in my view. What the club will be in danger of being extinct if people done a worldwide protest. Exactly. I don't support United, but I'm a rational football supporter. Lucha is injury prone. Watching live from Uganda Pele says, watching your live from prison. Mate, appreciate it. I can see Mount Shaw Maguire getting a new deal. Don't even scare me. United's fan base is polarized as it gets. I don't think that influencers can organize a worldwide. And you're right, mate. I am not trying to. I would love to. Well, I wouldn't actually. I'm not here, and this is why I try to be different, right? I'm not trying to influence you guys. I'm not here talking to you to influence your opinions. This is why I say to you, and this is why I will read out your comments, and this is why we would talk about it, because I want, if people watch this back, to hear what you guys are saying. I want them to hear what you guys are saying. I want them to listen to what I've got to say. I'm not here to influence you guys. I'm here to have my opinion. I want you to have your opinion, and we may agree or not. But I am not here to influence people. Like, if I had my way, of course I would do it. In JB's world, now I would get rid of the Glazers. I would bring another party in. But in my world, could you then have a situation where it gets worse? So if I had my way, I would get everybody to in the world boycott this club. It's not going to happen, but then that's my view. And I'm not here to influence you guys. I'm not here to dictate what you guys think. It's important that we all have our say, and I'm trying to create something here. But look, I know exactly what you're trying to say here, but that's not what this is about. Let's have a look at what we're saying on here. Look, Scrappy says he's a yes man for the dipshit owners. Will United really challenge for the Champions League again? If I'll tell you what it's going to take. Okay, I'll tell you what it's going to take to challenge. Right? It's only something really, really small. You've only got to clear the debt. You've only got to get rid of the Glazers. You've only got to then rebuild the squad. So I'd say if you did all of those things, then we've got to try. It's just some small things. Literally, you've just got to clear the debt. You've got to you've got to spend £6 billion to get rid of the Glazers. You've then got probably spend another 1.2 clearing the debt. You've then got to probably spend £500 million, probably more, on a team. So you've only got to commit about billion-wise, probably about 8. Just small things. Just small things. Glory to Man United. Alabu says, Man U got lucky with whiskey nose to Alex and the youth of Beckham's goalsy gigs. It will never happen again. It wasn't luck. Look, you can't luck. Were we fortunate to get those players? In terms of were we lucky? In terms of, it's not luck. If you've got those sorts of players, and I shall tell you for why it isn't luck, because we were fortunate to have those players come through at that time. It wasn't lucky that Ferguson, the way that he brought them into the squad, and it wasn't as if Fergie lifted up the class of '92, plonked them into the side, and went, there you go. They came through at different times. Neville came through. Well, Giggsy came through first. Then Neville's came through. Then Scholesy, Nicky Butt. he didn't just pick them up and plonk them into the side. It wasn't lucky. I know what you're trying to say, but it wasn't luck. If you think it's luck, my friend, then that's up to you. I think it's a very, very narrow-minded view to have, but it wasn't luck. But where I do agree with you, it's never happened again, whereby you basically have got a club that in the space of 3 seasons brought through 7 players. It probably will never happen again, and that's not luck. It's fortune that we managed to get those players, but to get those players in and to embed them into the squad, it wasn't luck, my friend. And look, it wasn't luck. What do you think about Galatasaray? Look, historic club. I like Galatasaray, but I don't necessarily know them to that extreme. Red Devil said hi. Neil says we had the best manager. Did not work. Great, did it exactly. Xavi Alonso would be a good United manager, but will he want to play under this regime? Forget his allegiance to the biggest club. Look, it doesn't work like that. I know Busby, but Alonso is never going to come to this club. I don't think, irrespective of what I think, Alonso will never manage this club. It is not the same era. I don't, people like Klopp would never come to this club. Alonso is never going to come to this club, and I don't think that the fan base would welcome him. So, Mike will give to Summer, then make mind up then. Liam's on that. Nikki says start of a new chapter. Fresh says it's true, mate. We can call those types of buildings heritage listed in Australia. Can't be knocked down, and if altered, must be maintained. Must maintain the facades. And look, I think if Old Trafford goes, it is a absolute stain on the Premier League. It's a stain on the FA. It is a stain on the ownership of this club, and I will never forgive them. Never, never, never. I don't know what you're talking about there, my friend. Guys, get through that. Get through these chats. Why do Arsenal fans hate Arteta so much? I know this has nothing to do with anything. Just was talking to a pal who said if Arsenal lose against United, they should fire him. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Arsenal fans, and look, we've had some really good Arsenal fans in here today. Like massive respect to an Arsenal fan today who came in, right? But Arsenal fans seem to have this arrogance, right? That people talk about United being entitled, right? Arsenal fans are entitled. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it comes from, but they've not won a league in 22 years. It feels like Arsenal have this, fans feel like they've got this divine right to win the Premier League. And if they're not winning the Premier League, which they didn't do that much, even when Wenger was in charge, it's not like they won it every single season. They didn't win it loads and loads of times, but there's this entitlement. And I'm not saying every Arsenal fan that's out there, but Arsenal fans need to be very, very careful, because if Arteta goes, this is an Arteta side. I think he's done fantastically well. In any other era, Arteta's side would have won the league multiple times. The problem that you've got in this era is Pep, is Klopp. You had Pep and Klopp. Those two were the very best with the very best teams. Arteta in any other era would probably have won the league twice or 3 times. It's a bit like Murray in tennis, right? If Murray was in any other era rather than the Djokovic era, the Federer era, the Nadal era, Andy Murray would be winning like Grand Slams, right? But sadly for him, he was in an era where, don't get me wrong, he was a fantastic player, a world-class player. But sometimes the best players of an era can be phenomenal players, can be world-class, but there are just people and things out there better than them. And Arsenal haven't been the best team during the Man City and Liverpool era. They've still been pushing the Champions League. I would love Arsenal fans to be in our position now. But if Arteta doesn't win the league this season, the guy would still finish second. Why would you sack him? You know, I don't get it. I don't get this. Arteta out, get him out. Arteta out. And I think that's driven by influencers. I think it's driven by influencers who have this entitlement, and I think it applies to our fan base as well. Certain people, you know, are entitled to think that we're going to sign players, that we're going to win games. You know, Arteta is doing a fantastic job. Arteta, in my view, his only crime is being in an era of Pep and Klopp. Black Bear says, opinions are allowed, just confused. I'll let you go through that. I don't mind counter-attacking football. I wish, I played tiki-taka. Just love that style. Who's drinking gin neat? United are back means the Glazers think they can fool us. I agree with that completely. I'm drinking water, Liam. So you like gin and tonic then? Ahmad moving like African Messi. I love Ahmad. I think Ahmad is fantastic. Ahmad is. I love Ahmad. JB World. I want to come to. Let's have a little look. Love the sarcasm. You do need a little bit of sarcasm. So you want the Saudis? Look, Sir Ryan. I've said this before. I don't necessarily want the Saudis. In an ideal world, what I want is I want the fans to own the club 51%, whatever it is, backed by somebody that loves the club. That is what I would love. Irrespective of whether that would work, whether it would be arguments, in an ideal world, I would love this club to be owned by the fans. Everybody live in harmony. Everybody makes the right decisions. Perfect, right? But Sir Ryan, I'm asking you this question, right? How do we get rid of the debt? How do we get rid of the shackles? Who is out there that can afford to get the Glazers out, that can clear the debt, and that can make this club great again? And when I say great, I'm not talking about winning league after league after league, as though that would be fantastic. It doesn't mean I want the Saudis. It just means what is an alternative way. And I'm genuinely asking that question. People that say that they don't want Saudi, they don't want this, I'm asking, what is an alternative? That's what I'm saying here. Let's have a little look at what we're saying. Red says Arsenal fans are living in the past as much as United fans are living in the past. No, I agree. It's it's what I said, my friend. What's Arteta meant to do? They had Klopp and Pep this season. He will win it. Arsenal fans say Arteta spoke to a dozen, even fans. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Jericho, mate, I really don't care. Grace says Arsenal getting relegated next season. Jericho, mate, give it up. I really don't care. The past is the past. I really don't care. I don't get it. Thanks for responding and understanding. Arteta did wonders. I love it, Sir Ryan. Good night. Good night, my friend. The Murray analysis was great. Damon Hill versus Schumacher. Exactly. Look, sometimes you look at a Wenger, right? Arsene Wenger, right? If it wasn't for Fergie's teams, Arsene Wenger probably would have won the league more times. You look at the team that they had. They had Bergkamps, Vieiras, Petit, Adams, Winterburn, Seaman, Viltord, and then they had Henri, Anelka, then they had Henri, and sometimes eras are just, fan ownership, no thanks, fans were relegated. And Grace, look, this is what I mean. In an ideal world, look, I know. Can you imagine if this fan base owned this club? Can you imagine the people fighting? You'd have top Reds fighting top Reds. It would be carnage, right, Grace? I do agree. In my idealistic happy world, fans would own the club. That's not going to happen. Joachim, United sucks. My team buying is superior. Look, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree that at the moment buying is a good team. The only thing I will say is it's easy to be a superior team when you're in a league with a one-horse race. So what I've said. So what I wanted to go through as well is this. Look, we've spoken about the spin, how United are going to spin up this window, right? 100%. Now, the other thing to say here is this. Look, United are facing financial. Maybe oblivion is the wrong word, because at the moment United are still they still bring cash. Traveling says Palmer Room as well. Now, as you've brought it up, and this is your show, let me know about what you think about Cole Palmer. I'm not sure. Look, I like the player. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's going to be very, very expensive. He's just signed. He signed a 9-year deal. I think for me, Palmer is a massive red flag. I think Palmer is a massive red flag. I think one of the red flags for me is that Mark Goldbridge is good, isn't he? Got all worked out, mate. This is the wrong channel, mate. I think you've come into the channel, mate. I don't know what he says. I have no idea. You're going to have to ask the community. I really couldn't care less. The reason why I said I look, Traveller, it is wild, mate. I agree with you. I think is absolutely wild. It's come out of left field. Apparently, Palmer is not happy. He's a United fan as well. I think you bring him in if Bruno Fernandes goes. I think you're right. Bruno and Palmer don't exist in the same team. I think that Cole Palmer, there are two things at play for me. Number one, it's a massive red flag on a number of levels for me. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but my perception on Cole Palmer is he's become quite injury prone. That's just my view. He's been out quite a bit. Look, he's still young, right? I'm getting Mason Mount vibes. I'm getting that Mason Mount vibe. But if those injuries are not as bad, is he a replacement for Bruno Fernandes? I don't know. Liam says, I don't see how Palmer and Mainu fit. You would need a prime Kante Makelele to make that midfield work. And Liam, that is what I want, mate. I think you hit the nail on the head, as you pretty much like always do, Liam. I think that we need a Kante type. I think we need a Makelele type. I think we need a physical ball winning, mobile, defensive monster. Chelsea PR regarding Palmer, they're trying to flood him for a big profit. And I think they are. It's got so many red flags for me that it's right now it's a no from me. But it is the sort of deal that United will do. It's the sort of deal that they'll do because it's a shirt seller. They would instead of it's a bit like if you give, let's just say you give your kid some money to say, look, go down the shop, and you give him a £20 note because he hasn't got change, right? And say the bread costs £1, right? So you give the kid £20 note and you say to him, look, just go to the shop. We need bread and milk, right? We need bread and milk because otherwise we're not going to eat. We need the bread and milk. That is the staple. That is everything that we need. Go and buy it. It's going to cost you £2. Please buy the bread and milk. And then the kid comes back. He's spent the whole of the money and he's gone and bought a Red Bull. He's gone and bought chocolate. He's gone and bought everything else from the shop other than the staple stuff, and he's been through it. He's been through the Red Bull, the chocolate in like half an hour. But you still need the bread and milk. And that is what Palmer is. He's going to be very, very expensive. And okay, if you're going to sell Fernandes and you're going to bring in Palmer and you're going to bring in a Kante type and you're going to bring in another striker, then fine. If you're going to spend that money, and but Palmer has to be not the first choice. And if you buy Palmer and you go over the midfield and you don't buy a fucking midfielder, then you can't just outscore teams. You can try to, but you need a team. Thinking he's got a case of the Shaw syndrome. Look, possibly. Baleba, Mainu, Palmer, Bruno could work. 3-1 to Arsenal. So, look, Cole Palmer, I think, is wild. I don't think he's happy. There are so many red flags to me that whatever happens is not going to be done until the summer. So, let's see. Gon says 3-1 to Arsenal. Look, the other thing I wanted to talk about before I go, so I don't know if anybody has seen this. United for the first time has fallen out, and again, I'm not seeing many people talking about this. We've spoken about this already, but I just wanted to go through this tonight as well. that we've fallen out of the top 5 like list of making money effectively. This is the first time we've fallen out of the top 5. We're now behind Liverpool. We're now behind City. We're now behind an Arsenal. Now, the caveat to that is still, even though we've had no success on the pitch, we've been absolutely shite, still losing cash, but we're still in the top 8. So, you know, look, there are some positive shoots there, but it is not looking good. It is not looking good. And Herbie says, evening JB, evening Herbie. United revenue is decreasing, just a matter of time. We are seeing the impact. We are seeing the impact now. We're 8th. It's huge. It's huge. What people seem to have missed or just don't give a shit is that the end of the last financial quarter, we were £34 million in debt. The end of Q1, just gone, we were 13 million. We made an additional £13 million loss. So we are roughly about 47-50 million pounds loss thus far. As I said there, no European football is a massive issue. Also, I don't think people realise this as well. It is the home games. It is home games. It is the multiple factors are the home games. Also, the higher up the Premier League that you finish, the more money that you get. So if we were finished in the top 3 or 4, that's more money. Europe Champions League is 100 mil just by being in it. The more home games you get by being in the Carabao Cup, and the reason why that's important to us is because we will fill the stadium. FA Cup. So the reason why this club should spend in this window, did the person come for? Yes. They did. They didn't come until this evening, so I don't know. They probably won't be there tomorrow. I don't know. So look, I've done it. Next day delivery. I don't know. So the reason why you spend in this window is you speculate to accumulate. So if you went out and you say you bought 2 players, you're not going to pay the whole sum now. The problem is we don't have the cash, but okay, fine. But if you make sure that you get into the Champions League, right? That's £100 million straight off of the bat. You then get better players who want to come. You then go further into competitions. You get more home games. Your money increases. The longer that we're not in the Champions League, you get 100 mil, right? So, for example, if this is our 4th season out of it, the other teams in our league that have been in it, they'll get £400 million more than us. You get to a point whereby the money becomes so, and it's getting worse, the money becomes so, the gulf between the clubs becomes so vast that we cannot recover. If, for example, if Liverpool, City, Arsenal, for the next 4 years, consistently get into the Champions League and we don't, instantaneously for being in that competition, they'll get £400 million. And that's not including the sponsorship deals. Let's just say over that time, that is actually worth 600 million each. We are £500 million worse off than those clubs. How do you catch that up? How do you catch that up? Well, the point is that you fucking don't. So this is what this fan base doesn't seem to realize. Simon says, "Good evening, JB. Just come on. What have I missed?" But we've basically gone through. We're now going through the financial bit. We've gone through tons of stuff, buddy. But look, get in your questions. There is still time, so feel free to get in to your questions. Traveler Link says Casemiro leaving is a double-edged deal. He's not got the legs anymore, but he's also got the talent experience. Glazers have to change their last name to Deserters. You're right. You're right. You know, one of the things I've said, and I will go back to my point as well, is that one thing we don't have in this team are winners, right? We don't have people in this side that know how to win stuff. You could argue Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, you could make a case for. But there are no other winners in this squad. Casemiro is the only winner in this squad. I guarantee you, by the way, if Casemiro was on 140k a week, he would be going fucking nowhere, right? But you're right. I keep saying this. We need winners in this squad. Casemiro's gone. We have no winners in this squad. We have no Champions League winning experience. We've just lost a leader. I'm not saying that we need to keep him. I'm saying we need to replace him with somebody who is. Maguire is not a leader. Maguire, I think, will end up staying. Maguire is not a leader. People pin Maguire up as this inspirational character who came into this club. He was a captain. It took his toll on him. He gave up the captain, or it was taken away from him. You know, adversity. You know, he came back after people like they called him out. And Harry Maguire has come back, and he's been this inspirational player to come back in to this squad. Whilst I admire that, there are many people that would have crumbled. I think Harry has done well. Piss off. I'm sorry, right? There have been people at this club who have gone through worse. Imagine, so you talk about Maguire going through difficult times, right? Imagine being Roy Keane. Imagine being these players who every single season the demand on these players is to win a Premier League, not to come back from, you've come back because the captaincy isn't yours anymore. Imagine your task is to win, to consistently win every single season, is to consistently win every single game. No excuses. Your task is to win. Once you've won one, you win two, you win three. And if you don't win a game, you are gutted. If you don't win a league, you are pissed off. Second is absolutely fuck all. Roy Keane, and I'll give you a different example as well. Roy Keane got sent off in the semi-final of the treble winning year against Juventus. Well, he got a yellow card that stopped him from playing in the final. If you listen, he doesn't count the final because he didn't play in the final, even though technically he won. The treble one was a massive part. Roy Keane was only interested in winning stuff, right? David Beckham. If Harry Maguire is pinned up as this pinnacle, David Beckham got sent off, right? He was absolutely fucking ruined. And when I say that, those of you who are not old enough to remember at the time, you can go back and look at clips. You just don't know, right? David Beckham was there. There were effigies. People were hanging mannequins off of things, burning them because of Beckham. Right? Those are the people that should be pinned up. Those are the people that you want to keep. Maguire is going to be kept. I would rather keep Casemiro on a lower wage. I don't want to, but if you were guaranteed to replace him for a winner, then fine. But Maguire is going to be kept. Ridiculous. Let's have a little look at what's saying. Don't know, Casemiro. All competitions are missing our presence this year. I agreed. Casemiro was going to stay, but only if he accepted a pay cut. That was mentioned. No, yes. Fenerbahce, Sean Tweed says, can anyone tell me why Brent Desay calls himself Mark Goldbridge? I don't know, buddy. I don't know. This is true. I expect these other competitions as a freebie types of deals, or we should be in the quarters, semi-finals every season. I remember that about Beckham. To think that both recent captains, Bruno and Maguire, will end their careers having won literally nothing of note at this club. Exactly. And this is why, look, I know Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic player. He was, he is. I get that. But these guys are not winners. You can argue Portugal, etc. But in Portugal, Bruno Fernandes is not just the catalyst. You know, Cristiano is. There are other players there. Bruno Fernandes is not that captain. He's not a proven winner. Look, Bruno Fernandes has been and is a fantastic player, but he's not a proven winner. And people can argue that, you know, we've not given him a chance, right? I get that, but Fernandes is not you know, hasn't been that winner. You can argue that we've had a team of shit. I accept that. Could Bruno be a winner in that team? Probably would agree. A younger Bruno Fernandes. If you'd have put Bruno Fernandes in, let's just say, one of the United teams from the noughties, you put him in there, and I think he'd be a fantastic player. I think he would positively impact that team. Through whether it's their fault or not, we don't have winners. Bruno Fernandes, and I'm not blaming him here, he doesn't know how to captain this side to win a title. He doesn't, because he's never experienced it. If you put better players around him, would he gain that experience? Yes, he would. But he's not that guy right now. And look, it's just sad for me. It is just sad. Maguire was the full man and become a cult hero. Maguire has been the worst captain that we've ever had. Osimhen, been trying to sign Osimhen for 6 years. Harry Maguire, a good actor. You really don't like when people point out the rubbish you spew out about Jericho. Jericho, what are you talking about? Move on, mate. If you look, you've got your opinion, right? That's your view, right? Look, just keep up, mate. Look, you have got your opinion. I have got mine, right? The Barcelona team that we played were unplayable on that day. Whether you agree with that statement or not, I don't give a flying fuck. So you can keep on bringing it at me. Factually, in my view, Barcelona on those 2 days were unplayable. The fact that we got to finals, Barcelona in those games were unplayable. Whether you agree with that or not, I couldn't give a flying fuck. So you can keep on trying to beat me down with that. It's my view. It isn't your view. And guess what? No one else on this channel, no one else gives a flying fuck. Literally nobody cares. So you can keep on putting stuff at me. whether you think my opinion is wrong or not, my opinion is those 2 games for us were unplayable. If you don't like that opinion, fuck off. It's as simple as that, mate. I really couldn't give a shit, mate. Let's have a little look. Can't bear a different opinion, mate. Clock enders, mate. You can have your view. The only time clock enders that I will block people, or as if somebody will block people in defence. If you're rude, then moderators. Look, I trust the moderators. If the moderators deem you're being rude, then Bruno has also been tearing his body apart for the last few years. Now ragged every match. At some point, we've got to move on. Enjoying watching through a screen Sunday. Enjoy watching through a screen on Sunday. So I take it you're insinuating that doesn't matter. Mate, look, give it up. Look, you can comment, or all of you like. You can say, Jericho, whatever you like. You're not being rude. Mate, just give it up. Give it up. Not to be the shithead, but we have to accept these things continue. Yeah, agreed. Jericho, look. People are going to have their opinions, right? People will pick up on the things that I say, right? We don't have to agree, right? I've got an opinion that Barcelona, when we played them, for us were unplayable. They battered us. The fact that we were in finals, people can say whatever they like. If that's his opinion, if he doesn't have anything else to contribute, and his opinion is different to mine, what's really funny, Traveller, is you can tell people with a narrow mind, and you can tell people there you go, and you can tell people that have a very, very narrow mind is because what they want to do is they want to beat you down with their opinion, right? It says, look, it's up to you. It's up to you. Like I don't doubt, right? If you're looking at European, like the best of the best over the last, I don't know, 50 years, say, right? Madrid are up there. AC Milan are up there. Liverpool are up there. I think Bayern as well. United have won 3. I'm not, look, nobody can compete with Madrid, right? Nobody can compete with AC Milan, Liverpool, right? I'm not saying that they were the best team ever to play the game. All I'm saying is that when we played them on those games, they were unplayable. That is it. That is it. I'm not suggesting that they were the best, most unplayable team in the whole world. At one point, for a season or two, they were a fantastic side. But what I'm saying here is that, look, I by no means put that Barcelona team up as anywhere near some of the best teams. But I'm just saying, at some points they were unplayable. And look, mate, look. This is why. I respect people. Look, you are frustrated, and I get it. Right, you're trying to hammer home that point, and this is why I wouldn't want people like you with your opinions to be banned, right? Because you've got a valid opinion. I'm not disrespecting your view. You've got your opinion. I just don't understand. I've given an opinion. I've now given you context of that opinion. I hear you, mate. you know, I do. Crane Master says, feel so sorry for the fan channels. Won't be anything happening in the January window. Look, I don't, because I really couldn't give a shit. The fact that there are more important things for me on here. No, I try not to talk about the window because there's fuck all to talk about, mate. It is the same shit regurgitated. Like I could have come on here tonight and I could be talking about Neves deal again. Right, I could be talking about United are back in for him. United are talking to different people. I'm not doing it, mate. Look, if United are going to sign somebody, I will come on and I will report stuff. I've been told, and I got told different stuff the whole last week. I basically reported that United shift. United were looking at Loftus-Cheek. That's something that, like, I was told. And then a couple of days later, the fan channels or the bigger ones started to report on that. It's not happened because they've pivoted away. Doesn't mean that I'm wrong. Doesn't mean that the person that said that to me is wrong. They shift stuff. But I'm not going to keep on because that is not what this channel is about. I don't feel sorry for the channels at all because they basically regurgitate shit all of the time. And I refuse to do it. So look, they're gonna have to come up with better content. Rob says, evening all, sorry for being late. Big game at the weekend. I think Carrick will pick the same team. I agree, Rob. I think Carrick will pick the same team. I think we'll play the same way. We're gonna find out if that works. Healthy 08 United would have destroyed any Barca ever. Next subject. Prime Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta, Messi, Puyol, Villa, Piqué was a serious squad. Herbie, he will move because Xerxes is out for 2 weeks. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you, my friend. You still believe in Ruben? I'll always believe in Ruben. I'll always believe in Ruben, but he's gone. I can't believe it. I am gutted he's gone. But I can't believe in somebody that we've burnt again, my friend. I told you a few months ago to keep Ruben and sign him to a 10-year contract. And Tao said, hell yeah, I'd go with that. You still believe in Ruben? Look, I would love to have signed him to a 10-year deal, right? Give him his players. Let me rephrase that. I would have loved to have given him 10 years, right? It would be a departure from what we've always done, but he's gone. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I would have done. It doesn't matter if I would have given him his players. I wouldn't have brought him in if I hadn't given him his players. I would have only brought him in if I would have given him his players. It doesn't matter because I'm not in charge. So, Rob said, Herbie, it's scandalous that we are below Arsenal City on the football rich list, and it is. But again, we've been talking about this now the whole of this week, and there are very, very limited people talking about this shit because it doesn't sell. Joachim says Michael Carrick's one game was more impressive than Amarin's whole career in United. And again, look, I'm not gonna enter that. That's a valid view. I'm liking the banter. I really am. Look, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I really couldn't care less. Whether Ruben was your guy or not, whether Ruben should have been given time, whether Ruben, was at fault, whether I think the Glazers were at fault, it doesn't matter anymore because he's not here. It's done. And look, I agree with Scott. I think he should have been backed. But he's gone. He's gone. Shesko had that double, and I felt there was no way he could be on the bench, but here we are. Red Devil Nath says, unfortunately, Rubin was on house arrest at United, as will the next manager will be, and next after that can't do much in handcuffs. Exactly. If Carrick does well against Arsenal, pressure on the board to make him permanent. Mohawk, that would be, and look, I'm not disrespecting you, and I'm not saying that you believe it. Even entertaining Carrick being the first team coach after 2 games is fucking ridiculous. Even if Carrick went and beat Arsenal 10-0, I wouldn't give him the job. Look, this is where this club is so backward and so stupid, is because I think United want to give Carrick the job. I do. I think they want to be cheap. This is what I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think this club knows it cannot invest this summer, or is going to invest very, very little in this summer. And I shall tell you for why I believe it. Is because United at the moment are 50 million pounds in debt, in further debt. Okay, this is more debt on top of the debt that we've got now, right? So they've increased the debt. During the summer, the forecast is we're going to lose up to between 60 to 90 million pounds. That's what we're going to lose. So if you lump another 130 million pound loss onto the transfer debt that we've got, we will, of course, pay some of that down because, of course, we still make some money, and that will go down to paying the credit facility. But that 130 loss means we've got 130 million pound less to spend on players. This is what people are missing. We will be, say we're 100 to 130 million pounds down without selling players. So we need to sell players. So, for example, if Højlund goes for 40, that reduces down to a 90. If Rashford goes for 20, that reduces down. But for us to spend this summer, we are going to need to sell to buy. And this is why this club is fucking you over again. Is because in the summer window, they said, whatever we don't buy, now we'll buy in the next window. Everybody said, including me, that doesn't happen. Now, what they're doing again is that they're kicking the can down the road again, and they're telling you that they're going to sign 2 centre midfielders. They're going to sign this because people will buy into it. People will buy into the fact that we're going to get these players. How? How are we going to get these players when we need to sell to buy? Because they're fucking lying again. Because how are we going to afford all of these players? It is this fan base keeps on believing this shit every single season. And I guarantee you, in the summer window, they will promise people, but it will be the World Cup. The World Cup this summer is perfect. The World Cup for these cretins is perfect because they won't be able to spend money until the end of July, August, and they will absolutely spin this fan base right. And I guarantee you, come back on here next summer, it will be the players that we didn't get this summer, we will buy in the next window. And they want Carrick to stay because they know Luke Shaw is going to be here, Maguire is going to be here, Deloitte is going to be here. I imagine Bruno Fernandes is going to be here. Ugarte will probably still be here. We need another striker. This is why they want Carrick to come into the squad, because he's cheap. And I don't think they've got any intention right now of getting in a world-class coach, because they're going to need somebody to basically work with this bag of shit again. Let's see what you guys are saying. So, question for you. Do you believe your club is still going around in circles like the last 10? Yes. Yes, this club has been spun around, and people buy it. We're being spun around time and time again. This is what the Glazers have done. I don't blame fans. I don't. This fan base is the Glazers. They've played a blinder. This fan base is nostalgic. This fan base always looks and seems to live on Fergie of the past, and the Glazers play. The Glazers play on that. The longer the Glazers can play on the Fergie days, the better. And they lie and they spin. Like it never gets spoken about how the Glazers bought this club on debt. People know that, but they don't understand the extent of the debt. It's not just that initial purchase price of the debt. They've paid £800 million of interest on servicing the loan. The Glazers have never put a penny. People will say that the Glazers have spent X amount of money. They haven't. It's not their fucking money. They've taken physically out of the club £1 billion. So basically, for them to own this club, it has cost this club 2.4 billion pounds. For the Glazers to come in, the money that they've taken, the interest that they've paid, the debt that they've never repaid is cost this club 2.4 billion pounds. They keep going around in circles. This fan base gets promised so much. The fact that we beat a City, people think we're going to go on a fucking title charge. If we beat Arsenal, this fan base is going to be thinking that we're going to finish second. Simon says, we'll know eventually what Rubin will be the manager of, and I wish him luck. Harif said, Goldbridge has been sent to Parma for... Harif, I don't know what your obsession is with him. Look, mate, Harif, mate, respect you, buddy. If Goldbridge is your master, right, and I don't know him, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I don't watch Goldbridge's content. I know what people say about him. I don't really have an opinion. I've got an opinion on the channel as a whole. I don't have an opinion on him. But mate, if you are a disciple of anybody, and I'm talking about Goldbridge, I'm talking about Saeed, I'm talking about any of these channels that are bigger than mine, and you love those people, then feel free to go to those channels, because I'm not giving them airtime. Mohawk says, the media frenzy will go mad. I think they need to stick to the guns and make a decision in the summer. Scott, it will be. Carrick was decent when he managed Borough. Well, when he wasn't, was he? Joachim, managing Middlesbrough in the Championship is vastly different from managing a Premier League club. Did he get them promoted? No. He got sacked. Carrick got sacked. Did Carrick take Borough into the Premier League? If he did that, then yes. Then let's have a conversation. But I don't want a manager who did okay at a Championship club and then got fired for finishing 15th. This is what people don't seem to look back. They don't retrospectively look back and look at what Carrick has done. Does it mean that Carrick is not going to be the next Fergie, or is not going to be the next Jurgen Klopp, or is not going to be the next best coach? No, it doesn't. But right here and now, if you're telling me I'm going to get Carrick and have him as a permanent coach on the basis he's won one game against, let's be fair, a City side that are shit, and because he managed a Borough team that in their first season they finished 4th, and then he got sacked for finishing 15th. If that's what you're telling me, the criteria is now to manage this club, we are absolutely fucked. United below the red men in the money table and below in the trophy table. I'm not buying it. They don't have cash. They had the money for Semenyo. I don't know, mate. Semenyo was never coming. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You can believe Mohawk whatever you like. Semenyo was never coming. Semenyo was never coming to this club. It is a bit like, it's a bit like if you go to an auction, right? And you really want something, but you can't afford it. You know somebody is going to, like, that you know that they've got more cash than you. You know that they really want that thing. Your missus is going, I really want that thing. Pay you know what, like ever price. You're telling her to keep her happy, that you're going to get it, but you really want this other person to get it because you know you can't afford it. This is what Semenyo was. United were never going to get him. Like, again, it's been United were never going to get Semenyo. If you look at the math, just one thing in life, mathematics doesn't lie, right? Math doesn't lie, right? Look at Q1 results. Look at what we owe in terms of the transfers. Look at the money we lost at the end of the season. Look at the loss in Q1. Look at the money we have to pay. Mathematically, it doesn't even make sense. Where do you get the money from? The only place I will caveat that and give you a due. If we had have sold to buy, then maybe. But we were never in for Semenyo. We financially, it just would never have worked. Palmer said, Lyon, do you think Managerial replaces Dalot in the Arsenal game? No, I don't. I think Managerial has come back, and I think he'll be on the bench. Dalot will play, I think. Simon says the players we're chasing will no doubt be signed for other clubs before, during, after the World Cup because we did it too much. Carrick was decent when he managed Barra. No, he really wasn't. I'm probably gonna get pelters for this, but honestly, don't think Maz is much better than Deloitte. Both are below average for me. Fergie is a club legend. I will always be, but it's time to move on from him. We can't keep living in the past. Yeah. It's great to finally be here. Henderson, absolute legendary, my friend. Nice to see you wearing the second best away shirt. I love this shirt, my friend. Love it. I do have some more shirts for me coming as well. So expect some more shirts in the next couple of weeks. This is the best channel, in my opinion. Enough said. Rob, legend, my friend. Simon says, everyone assumed Semenyo was coming. I never believed for a second. Your hatred towards the Glazers is understandable, so why don't you guys get them out? Well, there is a protest happening. I am going to go to it. I'm going to do a show from there. When it happens, I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to put all the coverage onto the channel as well. Mate, if it was Liverpool would get them out. There is so much internal. For me, the reason why it doesn't work at this club is because there is so much fighting between the fan groups. There are so many channels. Look, my channel is in support. My channel would be in support. Let me give you an example. Right, I reached out to the 1958. Right now, look, I will still support the protests, irrespective of whether fan groups want to talk to me or not, whether fan groups, want to give me the time of day. That's up to them, right? I will still support the protest. I'm not protesting for the 1958 or any group. I am going to protest for myself, right? But the problem is that these in my view these fan groups, it's a in my view it's a thing driven by you've got to come from Manchester. You know, you've got to be a season ticket owner. You've got to be a top red. You can possibly be from down south and be part of it, right? Now, I've been supporting this club for 38 years, right? I've probably supported this club longer than some of their members, right? But I will still support it. But you know, when you've got, you know, I would use this channel for good. It's a reasonable size channel, but they don't want to interact. Channels, in my view, all the biggest ones should interact with each other and do a collective stream and, you know, support. But the problem is that everybody's so shit scared of giving other people views, right? So, for example, a bigger channel wouldn't give my channel the time of day because they'd be scared that I'd get some views off of it, right? I wouldn't give a shit if somebody who's got 1,000 subs, 3 subs, who would want to come on this channel and talk to us and talk to me about their opinions on the Glazers, I'm more than happy. I wouldn't. I don't care if there are any channels, bigger channels or smaller channels, that want to come together. I would more than happily stream and have a collective voice together, because I think that gives people more of a view. But channels won't do it because channels are so shit scared. They're so shit scared because they don't want somebody else to have their views. They're so shit scared that their piece of the pie is going to be taken away that they don't want to do it. So there are, I think the problem is you've got fan groups that won't come together. You've got influencers. I don't class. I am not that. You've got bigger channels who can you imagine if you've got all of the bigger players to come together, irrespective of whether they dislike each other or not. If they come together in a cause that's bigger than their own egos, bigger than their channels, bigger than their views, because look, they're still going to have millions of views, they're still going to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But imagine if you had all those people together, it would break the football inside. But they won't do it because their egos come before the fan base. They sit there, they pontificate about how this club is shit. Will any of those guys be there next week? I'm going to be there. Will those people be there next week? Will those people be? And look, even if they're not, doesn't mean that their voice isn't right, and it doesn't make them any less of a channel. Doesn't make me great. I'm going there for a personal reason. I'm going to go there because this channel isn't just about me, isn't just about an ego. It is about I need to do things that are right, and I will put this channel's money where I will put my mouth where I talk to you guys. I will go and do that, right? But the problem is, look, to basically answer the question is people need to come together. Fan groups need to come together, YouTube channels or whoever else. If everybody came together in a collective voice, that is when you get people out. But everybody fights. Everybody's fighting for views, for clicks, for money. You know, this channel doesn't make a big. This channel literally has made about £100, right? They're so shit scared of giving airtime to people in case those people are better than them, in case people prefer their views or that person to them. And that is why we will fail, is because we will not come together collectively, because it's all about ego. It's all about ego. If it's true we have concrete proof that a specific player really wants to join, then I would believe it. City are willing to pay high wages. We know INEOS won't pay big wages. The players on books and at the moment will eventually be moved on. Rob James on the United channel or comments praising Casemiro. I don't think he's done fuck all for the club. Look, and again, I respect people's opinions. I mean, I think he's been an okay player. I don't think he's been an amazing, fantastic player. I think he's been a decent player. Bang Bang says, if we were really, really serious as a football club, we would have sold people like Maguire, Deloitte, Rashford and Luke Shaw summers ago and bought up a whole new team. I do agree. Think if Carrick gets them top 4, give him a chance. Nothing else has seemed to work. James says, didn't a lot of United fans go for the support and build FC United when the Glazers took over? Yeah, but what's happened to that? He says, sometimes I feel having many former United players who would have won everything on TV at the stadium keep the attention off of the Glazers and keep us feeling nostalgic, especially Fergie. This is now my 52nd year as a fan. Some years have been, and some years have my regrets, but I will follow them until I'm pushing up daisies. Exactly. So look, there are people who have supported this club for 52 years. I'm pushing 40 years. I never, when you start supporting them when you're 3 and 4 years old, and then when you're 42, 50, 60, it is Simon. It is a lifelong thing. Red Devil says, and that's what I hate being in Australia. I'm not considered a proper fan. I buy my shirts. Been a fan for 38 years. Get up with 3, and you're right. This is why this fails. Is because there is a hierarchy of fans, right? If you live in Manchester, if you go to the games, never mind you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, never mind you buy the shirts, never mind you've emotionally been impacted by this club at times. No, you're not a real fan. And this is the problem: is there are tiers, that there are levels in this. There are levels. People who make content. There are levels to that as well. Do you not consider this channel to be a supporters group of sorts, even though it is remote based? Look, I consider this and look, Henderson, I think that's a really, really good point. I consider this channel whatever you guys think it is. Look, I created this channel to do something different. And maybe, Henderson, maybe you're right. Maybe this channel has become a supporters group. Henderson, mate, I've never really thought about that. But when you think about it, maybe this is that. Maybe this is a supporters group. Maybe this is this one of the first of its kind, in terms of this is not just about doing things for clicks. This is not just about me coming on here, talking about the positives. Henderson, maybe you've got a point. Dan Jones says, hi, hello. I do agree with you. Other channels, however, just to play devil's advocate, some of them did start a small look. And look, bang bang. I am not calling out channels for the things that they do. Right? Channels, it's fucking hard work. Right? It is hard work. I work a full-time job. This doesn't really pay right now. I'm a dad. I've got a wife. I've got a home to run. I understand the hustle. I know what I've done. I know the times. another time that is spent, and I'm not calling them out at all. People want the channel to be funny. People want the channel to be different stuff. Everybody, I respect the hustle. All I'm saying on the subject is when you become a bigger channel and you influence people and their thinking, and I'm talking not like we're just a small channel, right? But when you're talking about people that have millions of views and the biggest ones there, right? I'm not going to tell you my view, because you can tell when they get like interviews with people, right? Fine. But all I'm saying is that when you get to that size, I think you've got an obligation when it comes to this club. If you support this club, in my view, the Glazers are the enemy in this club. If so, I do not understand why there are big channels that don't come together as a collective voice and urge people to support this club, because they would have more sway than me. I think some of them would have more sway than ex-players. And if you get those big fan channels together along with ex-players, I'm not talking about the content, I'm not talking about the size of the channel, I'm not criticizing them in any way. I'm just talking about if people want change, right, it needs a big collective voice. And I will even if the channel shrinks, gets bigger, I will always support this, because I think this is bigger than this channel, right? Because United, this channel is about this club, right? So if I don't do things or don't try to move the conversation on, if I don't try to get these fuckers out, no matter how small the channel is, I need to play my part. So I just can't sit here and be like, you guys have to do this and that. I'm prepared to do what it takes as well. So look, this is why I will be there next week. I'll do shows there, not because I'm the best or think I'm the best. I'm just doing this, and not even for the channel. I'm doing it for me because it's something that I feel that I've got to do. Here's a fun fact, but don't laugh. Have you noticed that all the recent managers carried so far have got beards? Well answered on the Glazers. You do all have to come together to get what's right club. Exactly, exactly, my friend. This is United's worst season since World War II. That's crazy. No, I think last season was, mate. I think last season was, buddy. I think finishing 15th was probably our worst season. But I'm not a United fan. You'll be back out of your delusion come Sunday night, believing you're dead again, Matty, mate. If you come to this channel, buddy, I do not prescribe to that. If you've watched the show, I've explained where I'm at. I don't buy into it. If you've watched any of the shows the last week, for example, I don't buy any of it, buddy. It makes total sense to me. Bangman says, I'm 28 now, supported United since I was 5 or 6. That's 24 years, but I still have to deal with people telling me you've never been to. And look, bang bang, and this is my point. This is my point. Like, United can't have it both ways, right? I get the fan groups, etc., right? But you can't have it both ways, right? And I don't mean you, bang bang. I mean the fan groups, right? You can't protest and say that we are a successful club. You can't say we are the most, we're like the biggest club, or we were the biggest club, and stand there and say that and not acknowledge all supporters. If you support the club, you support the club. Like, but the problem is there is a what's the word? There is a criteria, right? Some of these fan groups are more than happy to take the accolade that we are the biggest club, but it's got to be on their terms. Like I look, if you've been a United fan for a day, I don't care. You're a fan. The moment that you invest in something, why does that make me, for example, look, I've been supporting this club for 38 years. Why does it make me better or worse than somebody that's been supporting them for 60 years? Why does it make me worse or better than somebody who's just started to support the club? The moment that you start putting levels of fans is when you divide a fan base. You know, it is ridiculous. Just because I live in London, without people understand that, you know, I'd have a global fan base. I agree with you completely. Or not stream. I need the company man. I am going to go soon. This is a great channel. I welcome every view that you make, JB, about everything. Not only is it very informative, and we are one big family. I enjoy the stream. I tune in. Thanks, buddy. Legend. Where do you? Good point. So look, guys, amazing stream, over 2 hours. Brilliant, guys. I absolutely look. I could talk to you guys all night long. Look, I don't care about views. You know, I really couldn't care less about views. You know, what's really important to me is that we get our opinions across. You know, we air our frustrations. I think the more that we do it, maybe we get more people to the channel. Maybe, you know, we can push this stuff out. So look, guys, I'm going to go. Look, thank you for being here over a 2 hour stream. You know, I don't care. Sometimes you need an hour, sometimes you need 2. But look, you guys are amazing. Thank you for the support on the channel. I really appreciate it. You don't have to support the club. Now, I welcome different opinions, different clubs, and look, even if, you know, people don't like me, I get it. But if you take your time to come to the channel, and you put in a comment, look, whether or not we agree, whether or not you can't stand me, that's life, right? That's life. So look, thank you, guys. I'll be back. I'll probably be back tomorrow night. I'll definitely be back on Sunday. There will be a watch along on Sunday. I will be back at some point tomorrow. I'll probably be back Sunday morning, and then I'll be back doing the game as well. So look, guys, hope you can join me. Thank you to all the regular supporters. Thank you to the new supporters as well of the channel. Look, I can't thank you enough. So look, good night. Legends, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. You guys are the best community. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, guys.